Okay, so now fourth chapter. Right. Fourth chapter, that is banking. Right. Right. So banking role is very crucial in economic development. Right. Why? Because here goods and services are to be produced. Right. Produced. But needed capital. Needed capital. So that's why producers must depend upon banking for getting capital instead of money lenders. If they depend upon money lenders, they charge exorbitant rate of interest. Right? So that's why we must establish banks extensively. So banks' role is very, very crucial. The reason is they connect savers and investors. Savers and investors. So country which is having a sturdy, strong banking system, likely to get the faster pace of growth rate. You see, with reference to India before 1991, so our banking system was very weak. Especially we suppressed private banks. That was a blunder mistake which was done by the Indian government. You see, so right. So we should try to establish more banks. For example, you see, I have to give an example to get clarification and to know the importance of a banking system in the country. Right? You see your basic economic activity. For example, yes, this is yield. This is yield income. Income. Yes, okay. So with reference to India, yes, around 70% of income, right, is being spent over consumption. Let us imagine consumption. The residual amount 30% is on savings. Isn't it? Savings. You see, out of 100 rupees, 30% of the income is diverted towards savings. Okay, these savings are captured by the banking system. Isn't it? So, banking system. Okay, then bankers provide loans to investors. Investors. So, investors purchase capital, machinery. Capital can produce your production, right, goods and your services. Goods and services. These goods and services are multiplied with the price. Then you get national income. So national income is derived from production. That is economy. Your economy is derived from capital. Capital derived from investors. Investment and investors getting loans from banks. And the banks giving loans to investors based on savings. So that's a savers parking their savings at the banks. That's the banks provide loans to investors. You see total savings in the country, as I mentioned in the preceding classes, that is GDS, gross domestic savings. And the same way the total investments in the country named as GDI, gross domestic investments. These are to be connected by the banks. I think it's here banks. Banks can connect GDS and GDI, isn't it? So it is understood that. Right, banks' role is very, very crucial. So if you wanted to get fast growth, why? Because banks can influence investors, banks can influence capital, banks can influence economy, banks can influence national income also. That's why it is understood that country which is having strong banking system getting faster growth rates. Inversely, country which is not having a strong bank system subject to slower pace of growth. It is true. So that's why bank role is very, very crucial. So we need to build up a strong banking system. Okay, so banks may be in a private sector, maybe in a government sector, maybe as foreign banks, maybe in a corporate sector. It doesn't matter. Banks are very important. Okay, why? Because these banks are dealt by the Reserve Bank of India, Central Bank. That's why they need to follow the rules and regulations of the Reserve Bank of India. That's why these banks can't cheat the people, and they charge not exorbitant rate of interest. Just optimum rate of interest is optimum rate of interest is followed by the banking system. So that's why here we need to concentrate on banking system. Unfortunately, India did a big fault that was unnecessarily private sector was which was in banking sector was suppressed a lot before 1991. That was a blunder mistake. Okay, you see here, take another page. Okay, you see here with reference to banking system. Yes, you see here 1947 to 1991. Okay, now till today 2024. You see here we followed here in this period mixed economic system. Mixed economic system means here government and private are equal. They need to produce goods and services which are needed by the people. But unfortunately, private sector was suppressed in this period. Why? Because here for example 1969, okay, around 14 private banks converted into government banks. That was nationalization. Actually, we followed mixed system. Means here private sector, government sector are treated equally, and they come forward to produce goods and services and which are needed by the people. But unfortunately, nationalization process took place. Okay, that was a blunder mistake. Why it was blunder mistake? It just, if we are not having socialism, we are having mixed economic system. We adopted mixed economic system, not socialism. How you nationalized the private banks? It is a blunder mistake. So, and besides that, one more thing also done. It was in 1980. Six more banks also nationalized, private into government, private into government. This also again blunder mistake done by the government of India in 1980. So that's why here 40 years total private banks were in stress, and they closed their shutters, and they were suppressed. Okay, that's why total private sector in India collapsed. So government banks were there, but the thing is that they couldn't satisfy the towards creation of the capital, isn't it? That's why. So 40 years total private sector banks were suppressed. That's why during this period, our growth rate also very, very slow. Between 1950 to right, 1980, yes, 1980, 30 years slower pace of growth rate, total GDP growth rate just 3.5 percentage because of, yes, faulty economic policies towards banking system. So unnecessarily, yes, nationalization of banking sector was not good step. Why? Because we adopted mixed system in which both private sector and government sector are to be encouraged towards production of goods and services, but in practice the situation was so different. So here 1991, right here, reforms took place in banking sector. So under the chairmanship of Narasimhan, right? Okay, who was the yes, ex-governor of RBI. Okay, so he suggested that at any cost private banks should not be nationalized. That's why private banks as government banks are to be treated, right, equally, and also foreign banks. Don't show any bias towards, right, especially over private banks, okay, and also foreign banks. Okay, that's why this was the recommendation given by Mr. Narasimhan. That's why since 1991, yes, there is no chance to, right, nationalize the private bank system. It is going on. Okay, so here it is understood that now private banks are given full rights. Okay, they are developing, no problem. But the thing is that what happened in India, especially since 91 to till today, yes, especially in the government sector. Okay, government sector, yes, here shadow banking is going on. Okay, that's why overestimation of, right, loan to value, it is going on. That's why, for example, okay, one borrower is getting loan from the bank. He has to keep yes, collateral security. Okay, so collateral security value, for example, is imagine 100 rupees, but it is overestimated to 1000 rupees. What happens here? Yes, banks are giving, yes, loans beyond the collateral security. They are subjected to losses. That is non-performance assets. So I am going to explain about, right, shadow banking. Yes, okay, not now. So it is understood that especially that's why the, yes, FM Nirmala Sitharamanji, right, she right, reduced the government banks, public sector banks, from 26 to 12. Why? Because they are subject to losses. Total government bank system in India collapsed because of shadow banking. Okay, shadow banking means overestimation of collateral security. So how it is, just I am going to explain next page, right? You see, right, you see, for example, State Bank of India. Okay, here borrower, isn't it? Borrower. So borrower, right, opts to take loan. Okay, loan given by the State Bank of India, and the borrower has to keep a collateral security. Some security. Okay, for example, let's imagine that 100 rupees valued, right, security is kept with State Bank of India by the borrower. Then SBI enabled to provide 80 rupees as loan. Then borrower is likely to get 80 rupees as loan. After maturity, he has to pay the prime amount and interest amount. This is a process, isn't it? What happens here between borrower and SBI? Third person enter. Okay, so what he does, the collateral security value is decided by the CA, right, and lawyers, right, and civil engineers like this. So that's why, so the third person enter into the field and he gives bribe to these persons. Okay, who decide the collateral security value? They decided 100 rupee as 1000 rupees. Actual value how much it is? Only 100 rupees. But they decided 1000 rupees by taking bribe from this person. This is this person. Okay, that's why this person gives bribe to these persons in order to overestimate the collateral security, and he gives something to the bank manager also about the fraud which was done by him. Okay, and the borrower also gives some bribe to the this person. Why? Because now borrower is getting how much loan? Not 80 rupees, 800 rupees he gets. Why? Because 80 percentage. Actually borrower borrower keeping how much security? Only 100 rupees with SBI, but how much is getting loan? 800. That's why the borrower wantonly becomes a defaulter. Then SBI bank has to face some problems. Okay, that's why. Okay, the person simply, yes, he raised the hands, I'm not able to pay the right amount. Why? Because actually the value how much? It was only 100, but he got 800. So what is the need to pay the yes loan again? The same situation followed by Mr. Nirav Modi, Mr. Okay, so Vijay Mallya, many persons especially, they have taken crores of rupees from banks. The main fault which was done by them, it was okay, that is shadow banking system. The third person enter, he can manage the borrower, he can manage the bank manager, he can borrow the persons who decide the value of the collateral security. So that's why it leads to the collapse of the banking system. I think it's here. This is shadow banking. This is shadow banking. That's why, yes, Nirmala Sitharamanji, Finance Minister of India, she reduced the public sector banks number 26 to 12. In future, these 12 also to be disappeared. It is sure. Why? Because still the shadow banking is going on. Okay. This is a problem which is being faced by India. So that's why whenever banks are seem weak, yes, we can't increase the capital, because here banker providing loans to borrowers on subsidized rate of interest. For example, if borrower depends upon money lender, they can charge exorbitant rate of interest, that is usurp loan system they follow. Okay, so it is understood that okay, banking system must be strong. But unfortunately, before 1991, private sector was suppressed. Since 1991, shadow banking in government sector, this was the main problem. That's why major corrections, remedial measures are badly needed for India in order to develop the bank system. Otherwise we can't save India. We can't realize the Viksit Bharat also. Of course, Viksit Bharat we opted by 2047. Of course, it is possible. But the thing is that your bank system is not good. That's the main problem. They must be studied. They are able to provide loans to borrowers at subsidized rate of interest. But thing is that total government sector collapsed in banking system, and okay, that's why here remedial measures are taken. I think this here we need to move into next page. So it is understood that banking sector role is very, very crucial. Yes, okay, any country. Okay, I think this here. Okay. So that is why it is understood that why Indian banking system is so weak. The reason is, before 1991, the faulty policy was private sector was simply collapsed because of nationalization. Since 1991, government banks, especially PSB, is subjected to shadow banking system. That's why they are subjected to losses. Okay, so it is understood that now we should try to bring out more reforms in banking sector. Don't allow the shadow banking at any cost. Okay, of course, in private sector, yes, very good supervision is there. That is why the intensity of shadow banking less. The shadow banking less. Okay, that's why they are moving some extent at a faster growth rate. But public sectors are creeping. That is the main problem. That's why we should try to bring out more and more reforms to avoid shadow banking. Why? Because banks' role is very crucial. They can connect both savers and investors. Okay, that's why investors must depend upon banks, but not others, not relatives, not right friends, right not right yes money lenders. Okay, like this. Why? Because they can charge exorbitant rate of interest. That is the main problem. Okay, and besides that, better to develop private bank system, and also as cooperative bank system also very nice. Why? Because they can they can charge very yes less interest rate. Okay, that's why we should try to encourage all types of banks. Yes, government banks needed, private banks needed, cooperative banks needed, even foreign banks also. Yes, we should try to okay develop. Don't show bias yes towards foreign banks. Why? Because any bank they need to follow the rules and regulations of. Okay, that's why all private sector banks, all government sector banks, all foreign banks, all are treated as scheduled commercial banks. Means scheduled commercial banks are enrolled with the Reserve Bank of India Act 1934. That's why they abide the rules and regulations which are inserted in Reserve Bank of India Act 1934. I think it's clear. So it is understood that it is understood that strong banking system badly needed. Okay, and one more thing also, banks must be dealt by the RBI, not by the government. Okay, not by the government, especially right yes debt waiver schemes are being followed by the state governments. Okay, that's why banks are being cheated. Okay, that's why even central government also conducted yes loan waiver yes schemes, isn't it? That's why let the banks develop on their feet. Don't interfere in the development of the banking system. Why? Because strong bank system only can develop the economy, can develop the right capital, can develop the investment, can develop the national income. If I say in one word, total economy depending upon banking system. That's why all types of banks are encouraged. Management doesn't matter. Private management, private banks, yes, government management, government banks, yes, and cooperative management, corporate banks, and foreigners. Whatever the bank, right, which is enrolled with RBI are encouraged a lot. Why? Because here, okay, so yes, they can provide investment to investors on subsidized rate of interest. It is yes correct. Okay, I think it's clear. So it is understood that banking sector role is very very crucial. So now the problem is some extent the intensity of non-performance assets right some extent yes lesser in the private sector, but the main problem public sector banks are facing, that is non-performance assets. Okay, means the loans which were given by the banks not returned. That is the main problem they are facing. Okay, because of wantedly yes borrowers become defaulters. They are using they are using the opportunity. Okay, the shadow banking is going on in India. That's why 26 government banks converted into 12 banks. In the future these 12 banks also to be subsumed. Yes, it is also expected. Okay, but it is dangerous position to Indian economy. Why? Because we are going to increase the right capital expenditure in India. Okay, capital is given by the banking system. Okay, so that's why because of weak banking system, yes, government yes started many special funds for infrastructure. Okay, generally banks need to provide loans to infrastructure, but infrastructure, roadways, railways, airways, waterway, telephone, telegraph needed yes much money, truckload of money needed. That's why banks are not able to give such a bigger amount. That's why government of India started some special right yes some special right okay infrastructural funds. For example, SIDFC, Infrastructure Development Finance Corporation, and India Infrastructure Finance yes Company Limited here, and yes National Investment Infrastructure right fund maybe. Yes, like this many more right yes, special funds towards the creation of infrastructure. Why? Because of yes weak banking system in India. So the yes motto is yes, the need of the hour is we should try to develop stronger banking system. Okay, otherwise we can't reach Vikshit Bharat 2047. Okay, why? Because investors needed capital. With bare hands they can't produce goods and services. They needed capital, but subsidized rate of interest oriented capital needed. Okay, but if they depend upon money lenders, they can charge exorbitant rate of interest. I think high rate of interest is being charged by the money lenders. I think it's clear. Okay, so but unfortunately, of course, since 1991 we are following banking reforms on the guidelines of Narasimhan. But the thing is that private banks are moving as at faster growth rate. But the thing is that government banks are not good at why? Because they are still going on some faulty like shadow banking which is going on. Okay, that's why from now onwards government should take bring out required reforms in the banking sector. And we should, and in certain circumstances foreign banks are shown some bias. Yes, such bias should be eliminated. They are given equal treatment. What is the treatment which is given to Indian banks? Okay, in such a way measures are taken. And with reference to corporate sector, the present government, especially Modi government, started Ministry of Cooperation in 2021. It was a good step. That's besides that private banks are to be encouraged. Cooperative banks are to be encouraged. Okay, why? Because they charge very less, very less interest rate charged, even below the especially lesser the private sector and government sector. That is why very less interest rate is charged by the cooperative banks. We need to develop cooperative banks. Okay, I think it's clear. So it is understood that the savers and investors are connected by the banks. That's a bank role is very crucial. Okay, so that's why besides that all types of banks are to be encouraged, and we don't do any nationalization program further. Why? Because here private sector bank also very important, and besides that government sector banks also to be encouraged. Why? Because checks and balances we need to have. Okay, that's why if we give much importance to private sector, they become monopoly. Yes, they may charge a high rate of interest. That's why one side government bank is there, other side private bank is there. Okay, we need to have some balance, checks and balances. Okay, then only we can maintain a subsidized rate of interest. That's why no management given monopoly. All types of management is permissible to exist. Okay, that's why foreign banks are needed, cooperative banks are needed, private banks are needed, and public banks are needed. All are given equal treatment before law. In such a way measures are taken, and we should try to encourage newer banks also. We should try to provide license to new banks also. Why? Because the banking system not enough in India, and besides that some states are enjoying a lot. Okay, but all states are not enjoying the fruits of bank system in India. For example, you see Maharashtra, Gujarat. Okay, these states, Tamil Nadu, these states are having required level bank system, but Odisha, UP, okay, Bihar, some states are there. Okay, they are not getting required level of capital. That's why simply they migrate to other state, they migrate to other countries. It is the problem. Okay, that's why here we should try to increase the producers number. Okay, that's why a producer's number we need to develop. Okay, to do so they are given subsidized rate of interest loans. That's why here we need a strong banking system in India. Okay, I think it's here. That's why we need to have bring out some remedial measures that all types of managements must be encouraged, and a strong bank system just we need, and we eliminate the shadow banking system. Okay, so of course shadow banking may be existed in private sector also in certain circumstances. Okay, so that's why we need to discourage a shadow banking system. Transparency we should try to maintain. Okay, transparency very important. Okay, whenever bank system collapsed, total economic collapse. For example, in 2008 2008, right? 2008 we faced global financial crisis, you know. Okay, in 2008 Lehman Brothers, right, in US collapsed. Yes, thereby, yes, within fraction of seconds, other banks also affected. It leads, right, it leads to, right, a global financial crisis. That's why it is understood that the banks also need to provide, yes, transparent loans, okay, but they don't cross the limits. Okay, that's why they need to follow the, yes, loan to value LTV formula. LTV means collateral security. Only 80% of the collateral security, yes, is offered as loan. Beyond that, no. Okay, just such measures are taken. And besides that, and especially the banks are run by POs, right, probation officers. Okay, they are not having required knowledge. That was unfortunate. Okay, they are having English knowledge, they are having arithmetic, reasoning knowledge, they are having, right, okay, GK, but they are not having, yes, economy, right, subject. That is the main problem. Okay, the banking sector comes under economy. That's why they need to know full knowledge, yes, in a bank, in a economic, okay, economy. But the thing is that they are having, right, GK, they are having English, they are having arithmetic, but they are not having required knowledge in economy. That is the main problem. That's why it is also one of the problems. So that's why we should try to find out the problems which are kept in the banking system, and we should try to change the, right, the examination pattern also for the officials who are existing in, right, banking sector. In such a way measures are to be taken. I think it's clear. Yes, now we need to move, right, further, right, next video.